points that I mentioned earlier. Focus on the delivery of successful customer outcomes first and foremost. Treat your employees like rock stars. Do that, and you'll create super fans.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to your favorite CX show, the Engati CX show. I'm your host, Rahul, and today we have somebody really special. We have a CX expert with us on the show. But before I introduce you to our guest, allow me to introduce you the magic of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform available across 14 channels with 35,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc.com, Tech World, CIO, and many others. And we run the Engati blog, the video channel, and of course the Engati CX podcast that you guys absolutely love, which receives upwards of 400,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest, none other than the amazing James Dodkins is on the show, and he's one of the world's top CX influencers and content creators. Now, from his experience in being in a heavy metal band, he now delivers energizing, empowering, inspiring keynotes to clients from around the world to help them in their transformation towards being a customer experience rockstar. His passion is helping companies deliver mind-blowing, awesome customer experiences and to transform customer into superfans. Now, he's worked with global brands such as Disney, Mercedes, Nike, and more. He's also the host of the weekly news show, The Week in CX, and has been referred to as a CX luminary. So welcome to the show, James. Such an honor to have you on board.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
The pleasure is ours. So before we dive into this amazing interview with James, don't forget to subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get access to exclusive content from thought leaders around the globe. We have rock stars like James come through on the show and throw light about, towards CX, machine learning, AI, all that cool stuff. So you don't want to miss that. So hit the subscribe button. So jumping on to the first question that I have for you, James, is, in your keynotes, you always talk about the 5 rules, of rock stars. So can you elaborate on those rules?
Yeah, sure. So the 5 rules are: get inspiration, create super fans, make it clear, make it right, and let teams rock. So they're the 5 rules. Do you want me to go into them a little bit further?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. So some of them aren't going to come across as well as they would live because, of course, it is a musical keynote. It's not your average everyday keynote. I play guitar, there's musical examples, but I'll explain the best I can.
Right.
So number 1, getting inspiration. So I won't ruin the keynote for people that might see it, but I'll give you the main message of it. We, as companies, shouldn't just copy what other companies are doing. We should understand the thinking, the mindsets, the philosophies that cause those companies to do those things in the first place and copy that. Okay? So you have to, there's a 3-step model, and the way you remember it is DUM, D-U-M, DUM. So define your company by the outcome that you deliver, not by what you do, but by the outcome that you deliver to your customers. Then understand who are the world leaders at delivering that outcome, and that's going to be companies outside of your industry.
Right.
And then model what they think, model what their philosophies are, look at their methodologies, model the way that they do things. So you're not just looking at other companies in your industry and trying to copy them. You're going out into the wider world and understanding, well, look, if we deliver this outcome and they deliver that outcome, even though they're not in the same industry, what can we learn from them? So that's number 1. Number 2 is create super fans. Now, again, I can't really do the thing that I would do live. However, there are only 2 types of companies in the world. There are companies with customers that love them, and there are companies with customers that don't. I don't know which one you belong to, listeners, but the questions you have to ask yourself are, do we have customers that love us?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, fantastic, that is great. Whatever. The next question you've got to ask is why? Why do they love us?
Right.
Whatever the answer is, focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask yourself the question, do we have customers that love us? And the answer is no. You also have to ask yourself the question, why?
Right.
Why don't they love us? Whatever the answer is, fix it. But the whole sort of recommendation that comes out of this part of the keynote is that if you can turn your employees into fans of your customers, they will turn your customers into fans of your company.
Right.
And the way to do that is treat your employees like rock stars. If you treat your employees like rock stars, they will turn your customers into fans. So that's number 2, create super fans. Number 3, make it clear. Customers misunderstand a lot of things. Stupid customers. But the point is, when that customer realizes they've misunderstood something about your products and services, do they blame themselves? No. They blame you.
Right.
And it's exactly the same in music, actually. So I mishear lyrics all the time. I'll listen to songs, I think the singer's singing something, and my wife hates me for this because we'll be driving down the road, she'll be singing along to something on the radio, and I'll be like, whoa, hang on a second, what words did you just sing? And she'll tell me, and I'll go, I thought it was whatever. And I'll tell her what I thought it was. And it's great for me because from that point forward, I never hear the song wrong again.
Right.
But it's awful for her because from that point forward, she'll never hear the song right again. She's always going to hear that wrong lyric. But when I find out I've been singing the wrong words for years, do I blame myself? No. I blame the artist. And some people say, yeah, but James, in companies, we give them, terms and conditions. We give them leaflets that tell them what to... Okay, but customers don't always read them, just like fans don't always read the lyrics. If you don't read the lyrics, it makes it really easy to mishear what a singer is singing and misinterpret what they've sung. If you don't read the small print, it makes it really easy to misinterpret what a company is doing. But it doesn't matter, because when I find out as a customer I've misinterpreted what you are going to do, I blame you. So we're all about making it clear. The way I show that in the keynote is with a selection of misheard lyrics. So I play them for the crowd, the lyrics that I've misheard over the years.
Right.
Can't do that now, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's you got to trust me. It's good fun. Any questions so far? Do you want me to carry on?
Yeah, for sure. This is interesting.
All right, cool. Number 4 is make it right. So let me tell you a little story. It's going to put this into perspective. So my band, we were about to go on our first big UK tour. We just released our first album, and I decided I really wanted to step up my stage show. So I decided I wanted to learn how to spin my guitar. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, I've seen it in a couple of concerts. I don't remember which ones, but are you talking about the one wherein the artist spins it off and then continues playing?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'd show you, but I can't.
Right,
get limited with. So yeah, you throw the guitar and it spins round. So, and then you catch it as it comes back round.
Correct.
The strap brings it round. So basically, the entire month leading up to this tour, in my back garden, surrounded by mattresses and pillows, I was there like, right, I'm going to learn how to do this. And finally, I did learn. And there's a trick. Do you want to know what the trick is?
For sure.
All you got to do is commit and throw it really hard. That's it. Just commit.
Right.
Throw it really hard. The momentum does the rest. So I had to decide where I was going to do this in our set list. And we played our most popular song last. And there was a part in the song that went a little bit melodic before it went really super heavy metal. And I was like, I'm going to do it there.
Right.
So I get in the practice room with the lads in the band, and I'm ready. I didn't tell them I'm going to do this. Get ready. Spin. They loved it. They went wild. Right. So then I was really excited. First night of the tour, I get on stage, the song happens, the part comes along, spin, the crowd loved it, they went wild. And this happened all the way through the tour. And then I got to the last day of the tour. It was the hometown show, biggest show of the entire tour. And then I'm ready to go. They're going to love it. They're going to go wild. What had happened was I had practiced so much that I'd actually worn out the leather on my strap. And instead of spinning my guitar, I just threw my guitar really hard, remember that part, into a wall. So I had a decision to make. Do I run off stage crying, or do I fix the experience in the experience?
Right.
So within a split second, I ran forward and dived majestically like a swan into the crowd. They caught me, luckily,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
got crowd surfed into the mosh pit. Do you know what a mosh pit is?
Of course, I know what a mosh pit is.
So for your listeners that don't know what a mosh pit is,
Uh-huh.
when your music is so beautiful, when your music is so gloriously melodic, that it compels the audience to transcend to a higher realm where they are overcome with the intense desire to punch their friends in the face. That's a mosh pit. So there you go. Now you know what a mosh pit is. And I got in the mosh pit and I had fun. To this day, I still have people tell me that that was their favourite gig of ours that they ever went to. As far as they were concerned, I became overwhelmed with heavy metal passion, threw
Wow.
my guitar and dived into the crowd. But of course, we know what really happened. Now, the point of this is we need to take that mentality in business. When we notice something has gone wrong in an experience, we need to fix the experience in the experience. Don't wait for the complaint. So there you go. And then lastly, let teams rock. Look, after working with hundreds of high performing teams all over the world, I've come to realize that the quickest way to get a team to rock is simply to let them rock.
Right.
And luckily for us, let is a handy acronym. So listen, empower, trust.
Right.
Listen to their ideas. Listen to the things they're unhappy with. Empower them to act on those things and improve things. Yeah. And then trust that they will do right by the customer and the company. So I won't spoil the end of the keynote there, but basically that is, you probably don't ever need to see any of my keynotes unless you want to see me play guitar. That's it. That's everything. There you go.
That's amazing. And there's so many interesting stories connected to it. The way you connected it to your gigs and the mosh pit. I mean, it's fantastic. I only can imagine how great the keynotes will be. So hopefully someday we get to attend that in person.
Yes.
But moving on to my second question, and I think, this is very important, James, because a lot of these young, high energy entrepreneurs are watching this show, right? And that's the audience. That's what the audience looks like. So, when it comes to startups, so how can startups deliver rockstar experiences every time? And what are some simple tools and techniques that they can implement to get started?
So there's kind of two parts to customer experience. There's the target, the goal, the thing that the customer is trying to achieve, that successful outcome. Yeah. And then there's the journey that the customer has to take to get there. So you only really need to understand those two parts of customer experience, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. Now, the first step is understand who your customers are at a deep level, at a psychographic level, not just what they are at a demographic level, but who they are at a psychographic level. Understand their needs, understand their expectations, and then try and form this successful customer outcome, either one word or one phrase, but it acts like a vision, like a beacon on the hill, that everything you do will be aligned towards the delivery of that successful outcome for the customer in the experience. Then, once you know what that is, you can build the journey to deliver that successful outcome. Too many companies just focus on the journey and try and make the journey as good as it can be. If that journey does not deliver the successful outcome, it doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter if let's say you want to fly to New York and you get on a plane and you're in business class and it's amazing, and the air host people, what are they called? The cabin crew, because you can't say hostess anymore because it's not. The cabin crew come along and they give you all the drinks and all the food, and it is the most amazing flight you've ever taken. But then it lands in Antarctica. It doesn't matter how nice that flight was, it didn't deliver that successful outcome. So it's always successful outcome first, journey second. There are some things you can do to make the journey better, and if we've got time, I'm more than happy to talk about them. But my biggest recommendation is focus on the delivery of that successful outcome first and foremost.
Absolutely. Successful outcomes are so underrated. maybe like the monolith death cult, I'm sorry, and like grip ink, maybe they are super underrated too, in my opinion. And people actually just focus on the journey, and at the end, if you don't have a good outcome at the end, I mean, the whole point is not made well. And it's very important to focus on that. So definitely important points that you mentioned. Now over here is something, the next question that I have is something that's popping these days because of maybe the COVID situation that's going on. So how can customer care tech, right? So this is something people really want to talk about, amplify these rockstar experiences that you talk about. How can they add in, how can they make the experience more fantastic for the customers?
So when you think about the experience that you're delivering for a customer, there's one thing that all of the best companies all have in common. Do you want to know what that one thing is?
Mm-hmm.
That one thing is these six things that I'm going to tell you now. What they do is they make sure that the experience is easy,
Mm-hmm.
fast, convenient, trackable, personalized, and predictive. And you might think that's what I refer to as the CX6, right? And you might think, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. That's not mind-blowing in any way. Yeah, make the experience easy. Yeah, make it fast. The problem is, if we're not careful, the obvious very quickly becomes the overlooked.
Mm.
Okay, and they
Mm.
do say that genius is in scrutinizing the obvious. So if you want to be a customer experience genius, scrutinize these things. So easy, reduce the number of steps in an experience for the customer. Fast, make your internal processes slick and streamlined so you can do your bit faster. Convenient, be where the customer is, be where the customer needs you to be, whether it be with an app or a kiosk or a delivery. Trackable, set the expectations, let the customer know the process they have to go through to achieve their goal, and let them track their progress in that process. Personalized, make that experience unique to them, or at least feel that way. And predictive, predict things that can go wrong and fix them before the customer even knows they've happened. Predict customers' needs and capitalize on them before the customer even knows that they have them. So there you go. Those six things. You focus on those six things, you're going to be delivering rockstar customer experiences.
Absolutely. What you just dropped right there, James, is an Engati gem. That's what we call it, because it's like a mic drop moment for us, because it's important to be focusing on the very obvious things, because a lot of people kind of focus on the more on the periphery, on more on the fancy side of things, but miss out on the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
important things, and that's very important, I guess. Thank you so much for that. Now let's dive in something into deep. Now I know this next question you have touched parts of it in these answers, but we'd like to understand more about your customer experience philosophy as a whole.
I mean, you've kind of got it already. Focus on successful customer outcomes. Treat your employees like rock stars, and you're going to create super fans.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think you've mentioned most of it in the first answer itself, and all these six key, points to be noted. And I think definitely that will answer the question for a lot of people. Now, moving on to something, and we would love to have your insights on this, because you have such a diverse point of view towards things. I mean, you mix music and definitely a lot of things. So since the pandemic, definitely a lot of things have changed, in the customer experience world also. So what, according to you, has been the biggest change since the pandemic, and how have, things taken a turn? Is it ugly? What do you see happening post this?
It's tough, man, because there's lots of companies that have stepped up, and there's lots of companies that haven't. So you see really good things happening, you see really bad things happening, and the way I kind of think of it is there's a scale,
Mm.
but usually you've got leaders and followers in business. The leaders are the people that will take risks, that will do things different, that will do things first. The followers wait for these guys to do something and then do it after them. In the past, that's been fine. That's a
Right.
perfectly fine strategy. You could, if that is your business strategy, that you want to be a follower, you want to wait for other people to take the risk, knowing that you're not going to get the majority of the reward. That's cool. That's fine. However, when it came to this pandemic, the followers couldn't act fast enough.
Mhm.
They couldn't do. They were waiting for the leaders to do something so they could try and copy it,
Right.
and it just wasn't fast enough. So it's forced some of these companies to have to take leadership roles, to take the reins, to say, look, okay, we're going to figure out what to do for ourselves rather than just copying other people. So for me, that's probably the biggest change I've seen business wise. Some companies that you would traditionally think of as as followers becoming leaders.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is a very good development, in my opinion, because this will push out companies and corporations out of their comfort zone and maybe lead to more innovation and more fresher ideas on the table, I guess,
Yeah,
because I think that'll break the monotonous, nature of the market as well. So
yeah.
definitely a good development there. Well, this has been fantastic. So many amazing ideas, so many great stories. Before we close out, James, are there any other thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
Just to recap, really, those 3 points that I mentioned earlier: focus on the delivery of successful customer outcomes first and foremost. Treat your employees like rock stars. Do that, and you'll create super fans.
Right. There you have it, guys. Simple and sweet, right in front of you. None other than James Dodkins. And he's been dropping gems. So thank you so much, James, for giving us your time. Your insights were extremely valuable. And I know our audience are really going to enjoy this interview.
You're welcome, mate. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate that. And we'll mention all of James's socials on the show notes. So go check him out, follow him, and tell him we sent you. And you can reach out to him for any other further query, and he'll be there for you. You can follow Engati, and we'll be back with a brand new episode and a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned, and we'll see you around for the next one.